Namaste. We are going to start our yin flow for today. This is probably going to be more yin than flow, even though I have a couple active poses planned. My main theme for today is considering what's, happening in the world. We have different things that have been coming up across the last couple of years, lots of flooding, lots of fires, lots of volcanic eruptions and earthquakes on top of everything else. And what has been coming more to my awareness, this past month, we've had a lot of smog in Nashville because of the Canadian wildfires. And lots of times when I look at the news, I just look at the headlines and just, kind of run through the pages of it. And I don't necessarily stop and read all the articles. But something way down the list that I don't know if you're aware of is Maui has been, devastated by some wildfires. And there's a historic town close to the sea that has burned. And I think 36 people lost their lives. And yesterday they were saying a lot of people, it was coming in so quickly that a lot of people were running into the ocean to save themselves from the fire. And the Coast Guard was having to save the people in the water. So another thing that brought me to was fires in the Mojave Desert. And the Mojave Desert is where Joshua Tree is. And this is where I want to go with today's theme. So a couple years ago, listening to one of my astrologers, I have several that I listen to, and I also listen to a few psychics and people who channel the energy and beings that have passed on to share where the energy is at and what timeline we're on and certain predictions. And, there was one prediction in particular from an astrologer who was looking at everything occurring that year and for a couple years to come. And she was specifically trying to say to people, hey, if there are places on your bucket list, places that you want to visit in the world, you have to prepare and do it so that you don't live without regret. Because a lot of these places, due to the environmental changes, due to the planetary changes that are part of the natural cycles of Earth, but also part of the abuse that humans have dissipated with, so many changes are going to be occurring. These places may not exist anymore. Even places like Disney World, they're really hurting right now, or were hurting. I don't know if they still are. But there's also places like Joshua Tree that's burning right now. And I just saw a headline this morning that broke my heart. And it said that some of the specialists are saying they don't know if the Joshua trees will survive. And they're so whimsical and so otherworldly, and they have so much personality. And I had been wanting to go to Joshua Tree for 30 years and finally made up my mind to go this year. And the trip almost got canceled because we didn't quite have enough people to pay all the expenses. And I contacted Chrissy, who was going to be leading the retreat with me. And I was like, Chrissy, I still really want to do this. Even if we lose a little money, are you still in? Can we still do it? And thankfully she said yes, because now I am just so appreciative I got to see the Joshua trees before the fires. So my theme is basically for us to be in the question, what do we want to do or see, or places we want to go or travel to that may be on our bucket list, that may be something that our heart or soul has been calling us to do. And, you don't necessarily have to travel to these places if you don't have the money or the resources or the time, right? There's a lot of things that prohibit us from traveling. But the beauty of living in this time is it's literally at our fingertips. Years ago, when I was a flight attendant, when I wanted to go somewhere I'd never been, in order to research these things, you had to go to the local library to rent a video, or go to the local library to check out a book, or go to your local bookstore to buy a travel book. You have computers at home to do all of the searching that we do now. So luckily nowadays, from our phones and devices, it's literally at our fingertips. We can look up any place in the world and we're going to see all kinds of information and beautiful scenery. It can even teach us about the culture and the people and the traditions. It won't give us the sensory experience, but it can still give us some things that we're wanting to receive from it. So if your heart's calling you to that, I implore you to do it. So today is dedicated to the trees, and specifically the Joshua trees. So we're going to start on our backs and we're going to do the pentacle pose to start with. It's the one where we're laid out on our back, creating that kind of X shape where we're all sprawled out. So once you recline, fan out your body. Even though I'm suggesting to expand and fan out the body in this way, if it's not speaking to you, if it's uncomfortable, if it creates any pain, please take another shape. Find some stillness. Take some deep breaths. Gaze into your mind's eye and picture one of those whimsical Joshua trees. Even if you've never been there in person, you probably have seen a photo. You can even put a splash of color in the background as if it were set in the sunset. Consider for a moment the value and importance of trees. The main thing being that we can draw oxygen that they emit, and equally they absorb the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. The air is being recycled. Consider the trees that have roots in the ground that give them grounding and stability. That absorb nutrients from below. And even how it's a system of communication amongst other trees. Consider the trunks and how they rise up towards the sunlight. How some bloom, providing beautiful flowers or nutritious fruit for us to consume. Providing shade, how they receive the rain from above and drink from the springs below. and all the various types that we have across the planet. We're going to create a reclined tree form. So slide your elbows down in line with your shoulders. Have your palms open so you're creating cactus type arms. Walk the feet together and then bend your left knee and open out from your hip. In reclined tree, take some deep yogic breaths. Following the breath all the way up and equally following it all the way down. Breathing in and out through the nose. Obviously, if there's too much sensation occurring in your left hip, you're welcome to place a block or blanket underneath. But the tree in is where we hang out in the joints. There are 6 meridians or energetic channels opening. The yin ones on the inside of the arms and legs. For the heart, lung, pericardium, liver, spleen, and kidneys. Reclined tree is different from the standing form of tree. It's less active. So let your muscles soften and relax. Let's go ahead and uplift the left knee and slide the foot out. And then bend your right knee and open from the hip. Acknowledging and cross-referencing the 2 sides. Where is life showing up in your body? Where is the stronger sensation? Continue to gaze into your mind's eye, picturing the shape of a Joshua tree. Or picture in your mind's eye a place you've been longing to go. And affirm mentally within, I honor the light of my awareness and intuition I choose to follow the lead of my heart. I stand strong and in my power and reach for my dreams. Inhale, let's lift the right knee and slide the leg out. Let's lift the arms alongside your ears and create the morning stretch. And then cup a hold of the knees and hug them in, Apanasana. Let's keep the hands on the knees, but separate them. Once they're separated, you're going to do kind of like a hula hoop circle with your hips, spinning them one way, and then stopping to spin the other way. Close the legs, kick up your heels, and see if you can rock and roll forward. From this sitting position, we're going to send the legs behind us. Oh, I meant to mention to spread out a blanket. Hopefully you saw that. If not, I'll give you a moment to do it. So we're going to take the left leg out to the side, like we're creating an L shape. Then the left arm is going to move out in front, right arm to the right side. And if you're wearing glasses like I am, you may want to remove them so that you can turn onto one cheek. Basically, we're spreading the limbs like a weather vane, pointed north, south, east, and west. So maybe consider for a moment, what is your preferred cardinal direction? Some people love to go north, to Canada, to Iceland, to the Nordic countries, to Alaska. Some people prefer going to the east, whether it's the East Coast, or perhaps to the eastern side of the world, Asia. Some prefer the south, getting close to the border or going below the equator. And some prefer the direction of west, whether it's the west coast or being in the Western Hemisphere. Is there a particular direction you feel drawn to, or maybe even having this be symbolic of whether or not you have a North Star? Take some deep diaphragmatic breath. Feel as though you're giving love and gratitude back to Mother Gaia. going through many, many changes herself. Let's go ahead and bend the left knee. Walk the forearms closer together. Look back over your left shoulder. Make sure that knee is in line with your hip and not lifting any higher. If the knee brings itself up higher into the waist, even though you may not feel any problems or pain, just know that it can be disruptive for the SI joints in the low back. So when you have the left hip open and when you're pressing through the elbows to open your chest and heart, know that you can have an option here to keep the head up, or you can drape the head down. The eyes can be open or shut. Few more deep breaths. Now let's take the left leg down the lane of the mat. Let's spread the elbows out to drop a little lower towards the chest, because now the right leg is going to shoot off to the right side. The right arm is going to spread out in front, and the left arm to the left side. And then turn to the other cheek. You can also rest on your chin or brow. Keep submitting and surrendering to gravity. Keep giving love, gratitude, and support to Mother Earth. Bend the right knee, creating that half frog leg. Walk the forearms in, returning to Sphinx arms. Checking in to make sure this knee isn't hiking up any higher than your hip. And then determining head up or down, eyes open or closed. So notice this is very similar to what we were doing on our back, but now we have flipped over and our experience is different. Even though the primary work is in the hips and the heart, you can feel and sense that it's also moving in between above and below. Ready to transfer to a different position. So let's slide the elbows wider to extend the right leg back. Slip your hands up underneath your shoulders and push up through tabletop. Find the edge of that blanket and you're going to fold it towards your knees and then crawl the knees forward so you have some extra padding for what we're going to do next. So on your inhalation, you're going to lift the arms up, tuck the tailbone under, cactus the arms for camel. And then as you exhale, scoop into the belly, slide your hands towards your feet and roll down to child's. And this is one of our active flows today. Inhale, coming up to camel. Exhaling, pouring over to child's. 3 more times. So when I went to that massage therapist the other day, she was asking about my energy work. And I was like, oh, do you do energy work? And she said, no, but I really enjoy studying the chakras because I can help give my clients more information. And I loved hearing that the masseuse knew all about chakras. Well, during my massage, you've got some stagnant energy at your heart and you got a lot of crystallization in your hips. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I do hip and heart openers every day. Go ahead and roll back down to child's. Send your arms out in front of you and then walk it in, and you're going to get rid of the blanket now. But when I thought about it, it's like, yeah, that's what's happening. It's relational. And so relational stuff is going to come up in the hips and heart. We're going to take downward facing dog. So once you spread your hands out shoulder height, lift and elevate your hips and knees as though you're trying to create the shape of a mountain with your body. Pressing through the hands and the feet, bowing your head. Let's walk the feet forward towards the hands. Softly bend your knees. Let your arms dangle down. And give a little bobble or nod to your head. We're opening up the urinary bladder meridian according to Chinese medicine. And remember how earlier we were talking about the trees? We mentioned they receive the rains from above and they drink from the springs below. I want you to imagine that you're like a fallen tree or like a weeping willow tree or a tree that's hanging low with its branches due to tons of snow or ice. And as you're feeling this intensity ramp up in the backside of your body, consider allowing it to be like waterways, streaming up through the body, but also streaming down through the body. Receiving from the earth below, receiving from the heavens above. Affirming, I am in tune with my awareness and intuition. I follow the intuitive guidance. I stand strong and in my power. My dreams are being fulfilled. All right, so now that we've been talking about some trees today, let's bend the knees and root the feet down and scoop the belly in and roll it up one vertebra at a time, nice and slow. And then once you come up to stand, we're going to move into our tree pose. So at first, we're going to stand really strong in the left leg. I'm going to turn this way. So think about putting a landing line from your outer hip to your outer ankle, from your inner hip down the inseam of the leg through your inner ankle, and bend your right knee. Turn open from the hip so that the foot can reside over your ankle to your calf or pick it up to your inner thigh. And then reach your branches up towards the sky. And today, I want you to be like a tree that sways in the wind. Sometimes our instability can do that automatically. Today, I want you to add in some sort of movement with your arms. Then strike a pose, firming, calm, poised. Releasing your arms, releasing the right foot, and then we're going to really ground and station that right foot down. Bending the left knee, taking the weight off the foot to turn the hip open. Determining where we want to lodge the foot. And imagine you're growing roots like a tree. Imagine your leg is like the strong tree trunk. And your arms are creating the style of branches. Remember, Joshua trees have really funny looking formations. So it doesn't even have to be symmetric. You can do something different on this side. No right or wrong. Then eventually form some stillness. As though you've grown to your maximal potential. Affirming, I am calm and poised. Eventually relaxing your arms and your foot. Okay, hands to heart. Inhale, let your arms circle overhead. Exhale, release right down the middle. Uttanasana, this time straight legs. On your next inhale, we're stepping back with the right foot, and we're gonna lunge the left knee. We're gonna drop the back knee, shin and foot, add in that extra blanket if you need for padding. Toe the left foot over just a step, and then turn your left toes out and roll to the outer edge of the foot. And you can be stacked on fist, hands, or forearms. So it's a low flying winged dragon. I'm realizing I can't really see what I'm doing with that left side. So I'm going to turn around and go the other direction so that you have a better visual of it. There. You can also bring blocks underneath your forearms. If you dropped lower and it becomes too intense, remember you can pull back. Inhale. Walk your hands back in, stack onto straight arms. We're backing the hips up. We're bringing the left foot back so the heel is elevated just above that knee. And we slowly erect the spine. So we're in a kneeling form of tree. It looks like this from the front, except I may not be mirroring you. All right, we'll begin with the hands to prayer. And instead of moving into one hip, lift equally through both. And then bring the arms up overhead. Splay the elbows wide. heart. The baby tree, the baby Joshua tree. And then we'll bring the hands down and lower that left knee. All right, when you're ready, curl the toes, pop up, downward facing dog. Here, the right foot's gonna step forward. So we sink back to the blanket. The right foot will walk to the right, turn the toes out, wing the knee out, and determine if you want to be on palms, fist, or forearms with that low flying winged dragon. Again, I'll show you from this side. Your jaw is getting tense. Take a cleansing breath. We have a lot more things showing up on one side compared to the other. We'll re-step onto the hands. We'll back the hips up. We'll walk the right foot back. We'll realign the spine, coming up towards the kneeling form of tree. Hands to prayer. Find a drishti point. And then slowly uplift your hands over your crown. Affirming, I stand strong in my power and reach for my dreams. Exhale, bring the hands down and the right knee down. We're coming into table. Feel free to use that extra padding still for the knees. And solidify your hands below the shoulders. We're going to be doing, this is our only twist for today, but we're going to be doing it in sections, or rather in a flow. So we'll start picking up the left hand, sweeping it out, and threading under. But it's a flow. So 2 more. Inhale, left arm to the left side before threading under the right side. 1 more. Inhale, exhale, thread the needle. Inhale, return to table. And then flip your right palm open. Inhale, exhale, thread it under. 2 more. Now, instead of holding the twist today, come back up. Our final inversion is actually going to be Anahatasana melting heart. So the arms move ahead as you lower your belly, chest, shoulders, and chin. You can also reside on your brow. Opening and expanding my heart so intuition can light my way. I follow the calling of my heart. Inhale, let's gently come up. All right, we are ready for our relaxation. So if you want to be true to yin, you can do that yin form that we started with, because this is the Shavasana way for yin yoga. You could also tie your hands together underneath your skull and bring the soles of the feet to meet. If you would rather do something more restorative, please use blocks, bolster, blanket, anything of your liking to set up so that you're comfortable and warm. So I'm going to choose back bend. In your mind's eye today, I was asking you to imagine a Joshua tree. But it could really be any form of a tree. You may have a favorite in your backyard. There may be a favorite from childhood. You may even want to picture the symbology of the tree of life. Take 8 more breaths. Final breath. You can slowly begin to exit out of the pose that you chose. Coming back to take a seat. Sitting up, hands joining at the heart. We honor and follow the calling of our heart and soul, wherever it may lead. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.